The learning capability, you know, talk about giving
Because you have to, right? Stay mentally
Pretty
sound.
much.
That's
Pretty cool.
Things like that.
Welcome to tonight's pre-meeting, November 27th, 2023. I'll go around and ask first if people have questions on anything tonight. I saw some questions come in from Sarah, but Libby.
There's no questions on the agenda.
Nothing for me.
Wait, what were mine? Where's my phone?
Yours were mine, so I remember them.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry if you answered them already. Do you want me to read them as soon as I find them?
You asked about the 350,000 more going to Goodyear, to Napa for tires.
Goodness, what the heck is mine?
You have one on Northwest Water Treatment. I can add.
Yeah,
I
please
can
do.
read your
I didn't
questions
know
and
where
our
they are
responses.
deep in.
I sent the email this afternoon and sent you a
Okay.
text to let you know it was in the email.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
But at any rate, so Councilor Nermella's questions were for the Northwest Water Treatment Plant. What are our parameters for engineering design as they relate to sustainability? Staff response, staff reviewed the project scope against the Envision manual criteria. Envision is a comprehensive tool used in North America to help government agencies in delivering infrastructure that considers public health needs, climate change, economic recovery, creates jobs, and environmental justice. Unfortunately, this project did not receive enough credits in the preliminary internal assessment. There are limited opportunities for new sustainability efforts because this project is focused on repair and replacement of existing components. That's the key. Most of the components that will be replaced will likely be in-kind replacements. With that being said, the project team will evaluate the most cost-effective options when making design and procurement decisions. Okay? Second question was referenced the Napa spending authority authorizing an increase. So your question was for the Napa contract, what are we saving by going with Napa for the tires? Would be helpful to have that since we are sole sourcing such a large amount for the procurement, and our staff response was there is not substantial cost savings or increased cost in using Napa for tire purchasing. Napa is competitive with other tire vendors. However, using Napa for these supplies provides tremendous efficiencies in staff time and allows the city to purchase only what we need, since Napa holds stock on site at the MSC for the city to purchase as it is needed, rather than the city having to order extra to have on hand to respond to emergency needs quickly. Additionally, the city's contract with Napa is based on formal solicitation completed by the state of Minnesota. I think that helps with just the procedural part of it, which further supports the competitive pricing with Napa. So that was that one.
My only further question on that one was, because it goes into, this will include 2023, so we have a month and, not even a month and a week left of 23, and then it goes for 2024. So my question was, have we already gone over that, and so this 350 will take care of this year, or it didn't make sense to me?
Okay, all right, I'm gonna ask, I don't see Mr. Merzinski here, so Ms. Borgers, could you come up, please?
Yeah, so we are right at 650 right now, so I think they've been holding off on ordering anything else until such time as we can get this approved by council.
I just had to get snow tires, so I understand the cost, let alone for those big yay-herders we have, but it didn't make sense. One's for one full year, this is for a month, so, perfect.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Okay.
And then the last question was regarding Sheridan Green. Your question was for Sheridan Green, what is the trade-off for where the 3.7 million is being pulled? That is, what are we not doing in order to direct the funds to this project? What will we delay in terms of capital projects due to staff and work plan capacity? Staff response, The funds requested to be appropriated for Sheridan Green are from unanticipated revenue collections above expectations this year. And so because revenues have come in significantly higher than what was originally projected, that's our funding source. These are funds that would otherwise have been appropriated in 2024 or 2025 as carryover, so there wasn't an existing spending plan for these funds. That said, they would likely have been used on unfunded capital needs in GCIF and Post, most likely Parks, Recreation, and Libraries, Vision Plan. From a staffing perspective, with the reorganization in Public Works and Utilities Department, the operations and CIP responsibilities were more clearly defined. This change has allowed capacity in the facilities CIP group within the engineering division to deliver the Sheridan Green demolition project in 2024.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Those are the questions.
Do we at this point know how much over projected revenue we're gonna have this year?
Mr. Lindsay, if you could come forward based upon what your projections show.
Thank you, City Council. Chris Lindsay, Assistant City Manager. So, general fund sales tax on the September 30th, 2023 financial report showing over budget sales taxes by $2.3 million.
So that's September.
September.
Yep, so third quarter.
Yep.
Thanks.
So, just to follow up on that, with that, so based on that trajectory, do we anticipate there being additional sales tax revenue for the last quarter?
Yes.
Counselor Emmons?
We may not know this, and this is what an hour drive does driving here. Is so when we talk about a community center as like an offshoot from the rec center, does the rec center pay for itself, or is it subsidized through other funds for keeping afloat? Like through the fees that are.
And I might join in the answer.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this. Tomas Ureta Mishler, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Libraries. As I understand it, we have pretty aggressive cost recovery and recover about 40% of the revenues to cover the cost. Is that about right? Yay. All right, so, and then the other 60% is supplemented.
So it doesn't essentially pay for itself through revenues, through fees that we charge? Okay.
Exactly, the admissions fees and programmatic fees.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
That's a good question. Counselor Baker?
Oh, okay, could they put a dollar figure on that? On the loss, on the annual loss? Could you turn that into dollars instead of percent?
Yes, I can, but not tonight. I'll have to bring it back to you.
Anything else? Okay, reports. Counselor Zadi?
Last week?
Nothing for me.
Counselor Baker?
Nope.
No. Mayor Pro Tem?
Nope.
Just Thanksgiving.
Well, Counselor Zadi and I went to Long New Year as well as Chief Hubbard, and it's one of my favorite. They just are so good, and this year's speaker talked for 40 minutes of living in Laos and where they lived, being up against the communists, and then when people started coming to America, what that transition was like. And she's written books on that transition and what people are up against, and it was just fascinating. I knew I was up against a time limit because I had to teach a class at 1 o'clock, and I knew my drop dead, at least driving there, was horrible roads. And so I kept thinking, the sun seems to be out, it's gonna be better, so I let the clock go after 12, because 12 was my drop dead to get out of there. And so about 12:10, I left. But it's just, they are so welcoming and so happy that we were there. They were very proud that Chief Hubbard was there, and he talked about the 2 Hmong officers that we do have, and we would like more. And it's just a good place to be. And they used 2 facilities this year. They had vendors in the building. We normally have all of the dancing and food and everything. And then a spread of food and it's just wonderful. So I keep going because they put on a good program, so.
And it was a fashion show.
Yeah,
It was fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we will see everybody at 7. Welcome to tonight's meeting of November 27th, 2023. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the City of Westminster Council meeting for November 27th, 2023. We thank you for coming and would like to remind all in attendance that our meetings are subject to the rules of decorum that are posted at the back of the room. These rules are in effect while our meetings are in session, as well as during breaks and transitions between meetings. We want to be sure all feel welcome and remind all that there is an expectation that no attendee shall disrupt this meeting and that threats and intimidation are prohibited. Signs and placards are prohibited in council chambers, and all attendees shall remain seated in the seats provided, not in the aisles, nor shall the doorways be blocked. Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Present.
Counselor Emmons.
Present.
Counselor Azadi.
Here.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
Counselor Nermella.
Here.
And Counselor Seymour.
Here.
That brings us to minutes of November 13th. Counselor Emmons?
Oh, I wasn't ready. Sorry. I'm usually not the one that does it. I move to approve the minutes of the November 13, 2023 meeting as presented.
Is there a second? Counselor Seymour?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from November 13th. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to presentation of Employee Service Awards. It's always our pleasure to be able to see family and friends here tonight that are with the award winner. And tonight we have presentations. Sarah will be doing the 20-year certificate and pin. And we ask that if you do have friends, family with you, please bring them down.
Can Jennifer, is this on? Yeah, okay. Jennifer Jensen and family. Such a temptation to say Price is Right. Come on down. Do you want to introduce your family?
Sure. My husband Chris, my mom Robin, my best friend Brandy, and her husband Ron, and Zoe, the cutest person in the room. And people who didn't want to come up, Tracy and Joey, my colleagues, are good friends of mine as well.
All right, All right, so Jennifer Jensen was hired in 2000 as an hourly lifeguard, and in 2003 moved into a recreation aide position. Jennifer is currently the recreation specialist of adult enrichment. The city has been an instrumental part of her life as she has been molded by the city's spirit values. During Jennifer's career, she has held several positions from lifeguard, recreation aide, guest relations clerk, and a few other positions. She received her degree from Metropolitan State University in Recreation Management and has served as the chair for the Active Adult Programming Services with the Colorado Parks and Recreation Association for 2 years. For the city, Jennifer was very instrumental in developing the adult trip program. That's awesome. Helped with the purchase of 2 ADA accessible recreation buses and took the lead on the park and play trailer. Jennifer was born and raised in Westminster. While playing dodgeball at the Westminster Sports Center, she met her husband, Chris. They were married on home plate on Field 4 at Christopher Fields and have been married for 11 years. They have 2 amazing sons, a wonderful daughter-in-law, a grandson, and another grandchild on the way. Oh, congrats. Thank you. Right, so this is your pin, and that is your award. Yeah. Thank you.
Ready, looking right here. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you all.
to Obi. Next is our 25-year, but they chose not to show up. So Jeff Bowden was hired December 1998 and is currently a sergeant with the police department. So let's thank him for 25 years of service to the city. And Kent Hampshire was hired in September of 1998 and is currently a senior police officer with the police department. Let's thank him for his 25 years. Next, Obi will give the 30-year awards.
Is Tony Fico here? Did I pronounce that correctly? You did. You want to introduce your family?
So this is the logic behind me, my beautiful girlfriend Stephanie, my middle son Taylor, my oldest son Gianni, and his beautiful girlfriend Shelby.
Thank you all for being here. Congratulations on 30 years. Thank you. Tony Fico started with the city 30 years ago as a maintenance worker in the streets division, filling potholes, cleaning storm drains, shoveling asphalt, and plowing snow. Over the years, Tony was promoted to Equipment Operator 1 and then again to Equipment Operator 2. With a strong desire for career advancement, Tony moved from the Streets Division and joined the Community Development Department in the Engineering Division to take on the challenge of traffic technician. It's a big challenge. Yeah. After many years of handling traffic-related issues for the city, Tony was given the opportunity to become an engineering construction inspector, the position he holds today. Tony lives life to the fullest during his free time. You may find him picking things up and putting them down over and over at the gym. That's a very simplified way of saying that, isn't it? Cruising around in his cool hot rod, or simply enjoying time with his family and friends. Congratulations, Tony. Thank you. And here is your pin.
Thank you.
Thank you for those of you that were able to make it tonight. And I will just share, is now a great time to sneak out and go watch the Viking and Bear game if you choose to. The rest of the meeting, you may not really have any reason to be attending. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the public to communicate with City Council. Each participant will be given no more than 5 minutes on any topic they choose. Public comment is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. There is a public hearing scheduled for the item on which you, if there is a public hearing scheduled for the item you wish to speak, please hold your comments and testify when the public comment is called. Tonight, there is a public hearing on the supplemental appropriation on Sheridan Green project. This evening, the city clerk has informed me we don't have any emails, we have no voicemails, and I believe we have one person signed up to speak.
We now have 3 people signed up to speak.
All right.
The first speaker is Alan Farb.
Welcome.
So this is from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. What is hypothermia? Hypothermia is caused by prolonged exposures to very cold temperatures. When exposed to cold temperatures, your body begins to lose heat faster than it's produced. Lengthy exposures will eventually use up your body's stored energy, which leads to lower body temperature. Body temperature that is too low affects the brain, making the victim unable to think clearly or move well. This makes hypothermia especially dangerous because a person may not know that it's happening and won't be able to do anything about it. While hypothermia is most likely to occur at very cold temperatures, it can occur even at temperatures above 40 degrees Fahrenheit if a person becomes chilled from rain, snow, even sweat. So who's most at risk? The victims of hypothermia are often babies sleeping in cold bedrooms, older adults with inadequate food, clothing, or heating, people who remain outdoors for long periods, homeless, people who drink alcohol or use illicit drugs. You know, I would guess then that at 23 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees, 12 degrees, that would be considered very cold temperatures by CDC standards. In Westminster, the 4-day Thanksgiving holiday brought nighttime low temperatures of 23 degrees Fahrenheit, 18, 12, and 12 again, respectively. 2 of those days brought wet snow. Tonight's low for those sleeping on the street is forecast to be 23 degrees. Adams County has its Severe Weather Action Plan, or SWAP program. It was activated on Thanksgiving Day and continues through tomorrow. Now, even though SWAP was activated, here's a crucial reminder from SWAP. Vouchers will be distributed through outreach workers only in Adams County to their current active clients. There is no central intake site for Adams County. You must be enrolled with SWAP to be eligible to receive a hotel voucher. To enroll, you must be enrolled with a SWAP worker in person, show proof you are connected to Adams or Broomfield County, sign forms saying that you are experiencing literal homelessness, as well as a liability waiver and a participant agreement. So to remind council and staff, the overwhelming number of our city's unhoused women and men, they have not been able to access the motel voucher system through the Severe Weather Action Plan. And because this city, months ago, put a hold on its own homeless navigators from taking on additional clients, most of our unhoused women and men in this city have effectively been barred from even participating in the SWAP motel voucher program during these 23-degree, 18-degree, 12-degree, 12-degree nights. So please tell us all that something has changed in the city with this. This morning, I met a new, to me, but not new to homelessness man, about 50 years old. I gave him hand warmers, water, a couple cans of tuna, and some cookies. He told me where in the city he had been sleeping and asked where the safe shelter was. I told him, the shelters are in Denver, Boulder, Aurora. He asked where he could safely camp tonight without being chased away. He was cold, hungry, sometimes mumbling. He just wanted to rest, to be warm. And as the city had informed me just last month when I asked, there is no city-hosted, city-sanctioned warming center made available for anyone, let alone our unhoused women and men trying to survive this cold. All one can ask is why? Why?
Thank you. The next speaker is Tom Lampo. Welcome.
Thank you. So I hope everybody had a pleasant time, family and friends, these past couple days. I'm back here to lift up Westminster in prayer. Please join me. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' victorious name, I want to lift up everyone to you in the city of Westminster. You are God and no being is greater than you. The psalmist declares your kingship above all others in Psalm 95:3 when it is written, "For the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods." You created all. You know the beginning from the end. No being has come to power that you didn't let them have. Nothing stands in your way to deliver the outcome you desire. We can rest in the assurance that nothing escapes you. So we will rest and find peace in Psalm 95:3. For the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods. We are a diverse group with many different challenges. We view and perceive our world differently. Our life journey is at different places, and there are some 8 billion of us. But you know us all because you created us all. In 1 Peter 2:9 it is written, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." And Psalm 139:13-14 states, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well." Out of all creation, humans are, your special possession, fearfully and wonderfully made. You were intentional when you created us. We are created with great reverence and heartfelt interest. We are unique and set apart. No other creation of yours can claim this. But worst of all, we don't know it. We are lost to this world. So, Father, we come before you and open ourselves up to you. Meet us where we are. You created us. You know everything about us. You can meet us where we are. You know what makes us tick. You know every little unique part of us. You know our innermost thoughts, our challenges and hang-ups. You know what our thoughts are of you, so meet us. Wherever we are, whatever our thoughts are of you, meet us. Because without you, we are lost, and this world will devour us. In Jesus' precious and victorious name we pray. Amen. Thank you, and you guys have a nice night.
Thank you. I love your shirt. The next speaker is John Palmer.
I'm going to go ahead and pass this evening. Thank you, though.
That was the last speaker we had signed up. Thank you. City Manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, ladies and gentlemen in attendance, anybody watching online. We'll run through some updates, so next slide, please. Wanted to make sure everybody continues to track and participate in our PRL Vision Plan. And so our first phase of that plan has continued throughout October into November with a couple of community touch points. The first was an initial survey and some focus groups from earlier this fall. The PRL Vision team participated in Westy Fest on October 21st, held a community open house event on November 1st, and a joint meeting between Parks, Rec, and Libraries and Open Space Advisory Board and the Youth Advisory Panel this past month on November 15th. We do have a web page. It's been updated with a compilation of community input. It's been received to date. The website is listed there. We encourage folks in the community to check it out. And there will be a study session with the council on December 11th that will review, kind of where we're at currently with that PRL Vision Plan and where we're going into the near future. And so just wanted to make sure that that's on everybody's radar. But, if you want to make an impact and to have input into where the city goes with its parks, rec, and libraries programs and facilities and infrastructure, in the next, 10 plus years, this is your opportunity to get involved. So we encourage folks to participate. Next slide. Under Westy Winds, the long anticipated the Fuse Box. It's an art container that's been placed in our downtown. It's intended to be a pop-up art gallery. It'll be programmed in part by Westminster's own Palatiers Club. Art Club, and it went up week before Thanksgiving, if I remember correctly. But checked it out this weekend myself. Looking good. It's bright teal, our Westminster color, and adds a very nice feature to the corner of 89th and Westminster Boulevard in our downtown. You'll be able to, there are windows in it, so if it's not open for you to go in, you can still look in and enjoy the artwork that will be on display through the windows. And those displays will continue to be rotating over time. And so a nice addition to our downtown. Next slide. Some things to know. First of all, tomorrow evening, our Planning Commission meeting has been canceled. The Environmental Advisory Board meeting goes this Wednesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Upstairs in the CMO conference room. the Hometown Christmas, which is Friday, December 1st, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. in historic Westminster at Fireman Park. Encourage folks to come out and participate. I went last year for my first Christmas here, and it was just I guess had a small town Christmas atmosphere with the tree lighting and the storytelling and the caroling. Very, very nice event for everyone. Also here at City Hall, outdoors, we have the holiday lighting ceremony that goes from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And that's always well attended. Again, last year as my first event, very, very impressed with that. Quite the show. A farewell reception for our current city council will take place next Monday evening, December 4th, from 6:30 to 7 p.m. in the City Hall Library. The final meeting of the current city council will occur then that same evening from 7 to 7:30 p.m. with any appropriate last-minute business, but more importantly, farewells to outgoing council members. Then we have a welcome reception for the incoming city council. That goes in the interim from 7:30 to 8 p.m., again in the City Hall lobby. And then the first meeting of the incoming city council will take place from 8 to 8:30, and that's the swearing in and group photos, selection of the mayor pro tem, seating of the council, etc. And just wanted to point out for those two receptions, there will be food available. We encourage folks to come out and participate and welcome new counselors, farewell outgoing counselors. But that first reception will be heavy hors d'oeuvres, kind of a dinner focus, and that second reception will be focused on dessert. So if you have a preference, you can attend accordingly. But encourage folks to come out and participate. And then just as a reminder for folks, we do have a City Hall staff holiday party. That's on Thursday afternoon, December 7th, and that begins at 4 o'clock. And so City Hall will be closing an hour early on December 7th so folks can get to that holiday party. Next slide. No information only items this evening. Next slide. And encourage folks to contact us here at the city. We want to be accessible, responsive, transparent, certainly accountable. If you have questions, concerns, good ideas, feedback, etc., we certainly want to hear those. You can call us directly. My office line is 303-658-2006. You can email me directly at mfreitag@westminsterco.gov. You can follow us on X. You can like us on Facebook. You can check us out on Instagram, or you can ring our bell at next door. Pending any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Any questions? Thank you. That brings us to City Council comments. I'd just like to remind everybody, besides the Friday night hometown Christmas down, we're going to be honoring the Church/McKay families for all that they have done in the history of Westminster. And the next morning, the Bowles House Museum will be open at 10 a.m. And it's a great time to go see all of the Christmas in the Bowles House. And I'm not sure if Friends of the Library are going to be there or not, but they could be, and it's always a fun time. Saturday, I was at the Hmong New Year. It's always a great invitation that we get, and it's just a great celebration, and they're always so grateful that we come and learn their traditions and learn about them as well as they have questions for us. So I have been doing it for quite some time, and in 2012, they made me an honorary Hmong, so I do still wear my Hmong outfit that they made for me. Still fits, and so that's a good thing, but it's just a wonderful event, and it's always open to the public. This year was a 2-day event, and they even had a dance on Saturday nights. So next year, just maybe put that on. They always have it the Saturday after Thanksgiving. That's their new year. So anyone else? That brings us to consent agenda. May I have a motion for consent agenda items 8A through C? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8C.
Counselor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, items 8A through C. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Nermella.
Yes.
And Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Thanks. That brings us to a public hearing and first reading of Councilor's Bill number 59 regarding supplemental appropriation for the Sheridan Green project. It is 7:25, and I will open the public hearing, and we have people signed up.
We do. We have 2 people signed up. Three people signed up. The first speaker is Kristen Simon.
Welcome.
Kind of wanted to start with a, hi, it's me. I'm the problem, it's me. I lived in Sheridan Green for 4 years, or 24 years. I am so, okay.
Deep breath. It's okay. We don't bite.
I'm not a public speaker. I'm good at writing emails, as you guys all have seen. I've lived in Sheridan Green for 24 years. My kids attended Sheridan Green from 2006 to 2014. SGE was our village. It was where friends were made and our community met. I'm asking that whatever decision is made today, that it honors our neighborhood and our little gators. The community has overwhelmingly supported keeping the property for all. They have rejected selling or leasing it to the highest bidder. Our neighborhood is not for sale. We have 50 years of proof that the Sheridan Green neighborhood has not been a priority. With 50 years without a playground or a real park. While I would love to save a 37-year-old brick building with renovations that are 2 years old, I want to preserve our community more. Please keep the SGE property for the community. And then, I've said this from the beginning, please consider changing Stratford Park to Sheridan Green Park.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The next speaker is Cindy Mott.
Welcome.
Hello. Good evening, our fellow Westminsterites, Westminsterites, okay. So my name is Cindy Mott, and I have raised 4 children in the Sheridan Green neighborhood. And so, like Kristen said, Sheridan Green Elementary was the focal point of our neighborhood. Lifelong friends, excuse me, seeing children there all the time. The school PTA would host an annual fall carnival, where I, for many years, volunteered at the cotton candy booth, making cotton candy for everybody covered in cotton candy, and taking our kids there to play all the time are just memories that we have. And I'm hoping that our family can make more memories there. The playground was always a safe haven for children of all ages. There are children there that are infants and toddlers to school age to the teenagers that just hang out, all the way up to us adults and older adults, either just walking their grandchildren or walking their pets. So that whole area, that playground is very safe for us. I am very appreciative of the opportunity to share my ideas at the focus group meetings that you guys held, so thank you for doing that. I think that made our neighborhood aware of what was going on. We all work and are all busy with our families and lives, that sometimes coming to town hall meetings are really not a priority. And so for that, I am sorry that the rest of my community is not here. But we would still like to make sure that our voice is heard. I would be very disappointed if Sheridan Green would be turned into a church that would not be paying any taxes, or for a for-profit entity. I would love to see some of the other options that were talked about in our focal groups of either turning it into a community center for our community or as a playground also to serve our community. It is important that everyone in our neighborhood has a safe place, and I believe that Sheridan Green School, or hopefully Sheridan Green Park, will be that place for not only us, but for many generations to come.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tom Jurgens. Welcome.
Thank you, councilors. And speaking, of course, in reference to Councilor Bill 59, I am a Sheridan Green resident, and I've attended all of the focus group meetings regarding this topic. Sheridan Green Elementary School has been a valued community center for many years. If the board chooses to tear it down, it will be a loss to our community. So what's next? A park? Perhaps keep the playground? Does that merely mean fixing a few swings? Or does that mean a solid, well thought out update to the playground? Refurbish the tennis courts? The tennis courts were already slated for repair before the school was closed and reverted back to the city. This repair cost should not come out of the meager budget for park creation. Councilor's Bill 59 is rushed. The lion's share of the money in this bill is for demolition. Community input for the park's amenities should be gathered before setting a hard limit on what to spend for park conversion. Councilor's bill is rushed. I do not advocate supporting it. Get input from the community. Find out what, if you're going to tear down the school, what the community wants before limiting the choices by putting a dollar limit on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's the last speaker we had signed up.
Is there anyone that came in late that didn't get to sign up? Okay. I will close the public hearing. And are there city council questions pertaining to the hearing? Councilor Seymour?
Thank you. I have some questions as far as the budget because we have a line item breakdown here. So I think that get some clarification on what's going to be spent on that, if I may, especially in regards to how the breakout is for the replacement swing sets and tennis court repairs. And then also clarifying here, if I'm reading correctly, we already have $72,000 set aside for the swing sets and tennis court repairs. Those are separate line items. And then we have $2 million for park design, the community engagement on that park design, which we've also gone through on several of our parks this last year, heavy engagement with the communities in each one of those parks. And then temporary revegetation if necessary as far as timing. And then a separate line item for $1.7 million for the demolition of the building itself. So I want to make sure that my numbers are correct on that.
Your numbers are correct, but I'll ask Economic Development Director Kimball to come up and perhaps expand on that. But I think the key point to your point is $2 million is for design. Exactly what the resident of the area was speaking to is that we want to make sure we have a good plan. Well, $2 million is a lot of money to do that. $1.7 million for demolition and $72,000 for the swing sets and the tennis court upgrades, which have already been allocated for. But Economic Development Director, please.
Thank you. Lindsay Kimball, Economic Development Director. That is correct. And Councilor Seymour, your numbers and your understanding of those are correct as well.
And I did a follow-up question on that too, because this has been part of some emails in this discussion as well, is that my understanding of the updates to the school over the last couple of years have been mainly cosmetic, and that there were no major structural updates, including no roof update that is way overdue. There is no sprinkler systems in the building. It is not ADA compliant, and that both the electrical systems are aged out. And what else? No HVAC system, only swamp coolers, as we know that did not work quite well during the community meetings. So that's correct as well?
That's correct, sir.
And what would be the total amount or the estimated total amount for those improvements?
Sure, so we estimate that would be about between $5 and $7 million.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilor Namella?
Just wanted to clarify kind of on the back of the numbers that we have. The $2 million for design is not necessarily for the actual construction of what is designed.
That's correct. And our PRL colleagues, Tomas is here, but I will just say in our conversations, that is enough to cover the planning, the community engagement, which will be extensive to design a proper park. And it also gets you partially for that construction price as well. So it would cover a small portion of that.
Okay, because I imagine, I mean, we've done some recent design work for parks in the city, and it hasn't been $2 million.
Right.
Okay, it would be helpful to understand as we move forward, what is the budget for, I mean, I know we're talking about $5 to $7 million is really expensive outlay for us to be able to maintain the building, and then of course there's additional dollars annually to upkeep it and maintain it as some type of use. But I can imagine we're going to spend more than the $3.7 million that we are currently talking about once this park is designed, and it would be helpful to understand timeframes and if we have a budget.
I'd like to ask my colleague Tomas to come up and give you more detail on that.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Tomas Ureta-Mischler. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Libraries. The planning and design, as you know, the way that PRO goes about that is intensive community engagement around the amenities that we want to add to their park. And so the conversation with the community leads to then a master plan. And a lot of times those master plans require multiple phases to implement because of the funding available, but also just the pace of change and making sure that we're putting in those improvements in a way that then lasts for a very long time. So the money that is being discussed tonight will allow us to get a really good start on making sure that the park is, what we're trying to avoid is that temporary stabilization of the landscape, because boy, that feels like such a waste. You're coming in, doing grass, and then making those improvements, tearing out. So we're hoping that we'll be able to do the planning in such a way that it's a very smooth transition right into the improvements that we are going to together develop for that park.
Can you remind me when, sorry, I read, you'd think I read this weeks ago. I read this 2 days ago. I'm just trying to remember, when are we, was the idea that we were going to do the demolition after we have the design then?
Yes, ma'am. So what can act concurrently is, because there's a lot of lead up time to getting all of the state permits for that demolition, there's about a 6-month ramp up process. So during that time, we anticipated we could run the chart on how long it will take to design that park, so we can start community engagement on a parallel path with the permitting for the demolition. And what we are hoping, and what we really want to do, is to have them both end at the same point and be able to work simultaneously and be able to come out of a complete demolition of the building and have a beginning construction on the park that was envisioned.
And then would we not then be limited to the $2 million inclusive of design and construction? Potentially there would be more of an ask or something as a follow-up?
I think at this point it's hard to know exactly, because we've got 6 acres of land that we're going to be adding to the existing 6 acres of the park. So I think as we figure out what is the amenity plan for the park, the range could be very, very wide. So I think together, working with our landscape architects and with the community, with the council, we'll be able to come to that design that makes the most sense for that addition or expansion to the park.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
$2 million seems like a lot for design and engagement. I'm trying to find it in here. What's the breakdown of that? Why is that extensive? And can you give an example of another park where we spent that kind of money for that part of the process?
Yeah, I do not anticipate that planning and design and community engagement will take that entire $2 million because it also includes the stabilization, and we're really hoping to be able to take all of the stabilization money and put it right into park improvements and not waste that money.
If I could follow on, just for point of clarification, that $2 million is community engagement, planning of the park, and it is what would be the revegetation, which we want to avoid. So what we're saying is we'd like to take that money that would have been spent on revegetation and have that be the first funds that will be funding the construction of the park. So we wanted to account for worst case scenario. We're prepared for that, but we are planning for the best.
So, again, but I mean, where are we basing that off of? Do we have a similar, like I could think of some parks in the past, smaller, but I'm trying to understand where the dollar number comes from.
So the delta is coming from that amount that would have been spent on revegetation. So if I could, Tomas's folks had told me it's about $250 for planning, $200 for community engagement, could be less, but we always are trying to be as conservative as possible when we're making these estimates, and then the remainder of that money would be able to be either for revegetation or for beginning construction.
So digging a little bit to community engagement, what does that spend on? Is that spent on third parties? What does that actually spend on?
So community engagement really is a broad-based approach. I think you've watched us do it at both at Irving Street Park with the new playground and at Squires Park. But a lot of the heavy lifting that's involved is the direct mail outreach to a certain circumference radius around the park, and as well as a lot of social media. We've found that it's really effective to have a community cookout, hot dogs and that sort of thing that really draws a big crowd. It's building on that same model that we used for the ice cream social that just really started the whole conversation with the community about what to do with the school. So we'll be continuing that kind of really intensive engagement with the community.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Baker?
Yes, how much money has been spent on the really community engagement to date? Ballpark, don't need pennies.
Yes,
Just
sir.
in the thousands. Tens of thousands?
That's a very good question, sir. I would love to get back with you with that information. If I had to make an educated guess right now, based on advertisements, printing, tens of thousands so far, I think would be
So,
fair.
50,000?
Fair.
Okay. So how can we spend 250,000 on the community engagement? That's 5 times as much.
Well, I think that's a great question, but we're finding that what's particularly important is the mail outreach, sending people a postcard, and that adds up really quick when you're looking at a mile circumference around that park or whatever it is that we decide to do. So I do find, again, very conservative budgeting around community engagement, but wanting to be sure that we also have the full support of the consultants to develop the graphics and the alternatives that we want to present to the community. And I found that to be particularly important part of the conversation, is to have those effective communication graphics. And that is where part of that cost is coming from.
And that's something we cannot do in-house?
We have, yes and no. So we have one landscape architect on staff, and she is working on so many projects right now that it would be very difficult to pull her from everything else and still meet our obligations. So what we do as a team at PRL is that we contract out that kind of work to various landscape architecture firms.
Thank you.
City Manager?
Mayor, if I could, Mayor Pro Tem, you had asked, could we provide a comparable design of a park? And I don't think we answered that question. But for example, could you tell us how much we spent on the design of the downtown park? Any feel for that? Maybe Mr. Burke would know, but I think that might be a good comparison. That's a small piece of ground compared to a much larger, but I think it'd give you a ballpark of what design cost. Mr. Burke, perhaps?
Sure, pleasure. John Burke. So the 3-acre park in downtown right now is about $680,000 in design.
Okay. How much? 680?
680,000. Yep. And that's been over the course of the past couple years.
Not making me feel more comfortable with this.
Now, granted, these are very different scale and scope. So the downtown with all the features, with the pump house.
Well, off of kind of Councilor Baker's question, I'll give you my train of thought. I don't think it's a secret. I'm not generally supportive of what we're doing here in general, but granted, different place and time and attachment to why the Jessica Ridgeway Park went the way it went. But that was a very much this. I could see a lot of ties in the fact that it has very deep community feelings about what's going to happen to this park. The community very much helped design that park, and so the costs are much different. Granted, there were a lot of people who were donating, but there were still things that were actually paid for, and so I was very involved in that one. And so some of the numbers that I know existed for that one aren't matching up. Granted, the economy's changed a lot, but I'm just trying to understand, because if you are going to move forward with the park, and that's what the majority says, I think that we can learn some lessons from that one if you really want true community engagement. I don't think that you need to do a bunch of mailers, quite frankly. I think people are pretty attuned to the fact that their school got closed and there's going to be something put there. So just my 2 cents, but that's why I'm trying to ask the questions. I'm trying to understand, if you look at like a similar community park, Ridgeway Park is very much a community park, how does that align with what you're trying to accomplish here?
So Jessica Ridgeway Park is a very, very special park, and it has a lot of components to it that are unique, truly unique. The art, the public art, and all of the amenities that are so unique to that particular park. I think if we tried to recreate that today in another park, it would be extremely expensive, beyond really what we would, in good conscience, want to spend, right?
And not just to be clear, not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is, you had a community park that took true community engagement, and it didn't take all those other things. I mean, you different situation, different circumstances, but you definitely have, as we've heard, community attachment. So I hope that, opposed to just doing traditional mail out and stuff, that we actually use the fact that the community is very tied to this property to do true community engagement.
I think that's a very good point, and PRL certainly is extremely committed to that, as evidenced by what you saw at Squires and at Irving Street, and it's really part of the DNA of our department.
For me, I'm an original homeowner in Sheridan Green. We've been there 45 years. And so I was there before Sheridan Green was there, and helped get it there. But I'm angry, and the citizens need to understand there was nothing that made the school district make that school whole so that we could use it. Everything was passed on to us. They passed a bond issue, and I've said this in our different meetings, they passed a bond issue and then several years later started closing all their 16 schools. There's going to be more this year and probably more the next year. And that money for the bond issue can only be used for things like roofs and repair and the HVAC and those kinds of things. So my frustration is these folks are paying their taxes in Jefferson County for something they're never going to get, and makes me so sad at the point where we're talking demolition of this building, but knowing if we go to preserve it, it's a $9 million possible hit to the city's budget. None of us can go back and tell the school district what they should have done, could have done. Could we have had conversation? I don't know. But it seems that gate is closed and we can't go there anymore. But that is the root of my frustration, because, looked good that somebody back in the 90s said, yep, you can use this land, but if you're not going to use it anymore, it reverts to the city. Well, that was a double-edged sword, and something that probably most of the citizens living on Sheridan Green did not know until all of this happened. I know in our memorandum that you shared with us, it takes 6 months to get the demolition stuff, which is mind-numbing in itself, and then 200 days to do the demolition. And so what you're saying, so that the community understands, is we've got 6 months and 200 days that you have trying to get that accomplished, but at the same time working with community to get a vision and what they want, so that at the right time it comes together, so no money is more wasted on doing things at that park that have to be redone, because that will just be a duplicate of useless money that we can't get back. So I struggle with this decision because that gymnasium, we don't have a dime a dozen, and I've at least asked, is there a way to sever that and keep that as part? And you gave us the answer to all of that because of how it connects to everything else. But it's just a sad situation that we are being placed in, and that the school district left us in. And when I hear all of the things listed, it makes me wonder how any of the kids in Sheridan Green should have been there the last few years if it's that bad. So that's just where I come from. I have struggled with which way to go on this, and some of it I have to just trust, but I know that I will be here to ask questions as we move along if it is to demolition that property, and we'll put fire to your tail feathers to make sure we don't waste any more money. So anyone else? Oh, Councilor Emmons?
Thank you. I just wanted to, don't have any questions, but I just wanted to provide my thoughts and kind of reiterate what I mentioned last week. As on top of what the mayor's concerns are, this one is near and dear to my heart. I've mentioned it before that this is a school that I've attended. I've lived in Sheridan Green for 18 years, and it is a part of my life, part of my my soul. I still have family there. So this one is an incredibly hard decision for me, but if I'm looking at it from a logical, reasonable standpoint, from the information provided from staff, the cost to renovate and bring it up to code just to use the building is substantial. Plus, an additional cost to operate it as potential community center is an additional cost. I think it further solidified tonight when I was processing this, because I too have struggled. I've been back and forth on this. Trust me, because part of me doesn't want to let go, because it is such a part of rooted ties to community. And so answering the question tonight about our current rec center, just one rec center, not multiple rec, just one, has helped kind of solidify my decision on moving forward with staff's recommendation. Just overall would be financially reasonable to expand it as a park. To make it into a park, it is still city-owned, it's city-operated, it's city-maintained, so it's still within our purview. And I don't feel that this decision is rushed. I do feel that when it was brought forward a couple weeks ago, months ago, timeline is a little off right now, I did feel rushed on a decision. And council had asked, said, we need more information, we need you to go out and gather more information and feedback. And I feel that we've kind of, we've done that, and I feel like we've kind of landed in a similar feedback scenario. And I feel that if we continue to reach out, the same answer will come back, that they want it city-owned, they want a park, we know that for sure. So the second option, the second best option for this is to expand it into the park that the community needs and wants. And so I will agree that if we could, and I mentioned this last week, if we could make some kind of honorable piece that resonates with the community, whether it's artwork, whether it's some kind of just resonating piece to say Sheridan Green was here, I think that will go a long way. I also agree it should be Sheridan Green Park. So I know I won't have that decision, but I'm putting my 2 cents in now to say it should be Sheridan Green Park. So, thank you for the community that has participated and has provided that feedback. I think we've heard loud and clear for a while, but know that it's not an easy decision. It never really truly is, but I'm going to be moving forward with staff's recommendation tonight. So,
Councillor Baker?
Yes, this information presented tonight, thank you very much, because it has changed my mind. This is a quintessential colossal waste of public resources. Absolutely outrageous. Unfortunately, our city staff has no way to use the building and no desire to find a way to use the building. And that's why originally I was in favor of just knocking it down. But as we explored the $2 million planning price tag, which I can only account for $450,000 being used usefully, and some of that is excessive, to me this is just more waste on top of waste, so I'll be voting no.
Councillor Zadi?
Thank you, Mayor. Like I said last week, I just wanted to thank staff. I think this was one of my favorite projects since I've been on council, for sure, because it's been endless, and that's a good thing, amounts of community engagement. We've gone back several times to the community, more times than I've ever seen during my time here in council. And they actually helped shape the finale. You know, it's very rare to have a community engagement process that actually leads to the community shaping the final result. And that's what we see here, and that's why I love this. And the amount of time staff took, I think you guys took a lot of time on this, and that's great, because as you can see, there's a lot of sensitivity around this. There's a lot of emotions around this. It's been here for a long time, and Mayor McNally had to me, the most prudent point of, it's the school district that let us down here, right? Whatever happened with that situation it's a huge gap. It's a big problem, and there's nothing we can do about that now but listen to the community, and thank you for that. I had one question, though, which I have now forgotten. So, thank you. That's all I got.
Councilor Numella?
I also just wanted to state my thoughts about this process, and just the decision has not been easy. I know last week was certainly a struggle for a lot of us, trying to contend with having a building and figuring out, can we save it, how can we use it, and I don't think we love making this particular decision carte blanche. This is something that I know, yes, we have a lot of feedback from the community, and a good amount of support to do. And so I feel like this is one of the best decisions that we can make based on the long-term feasibility of maintaining, a building like that versus being able to actually have more of an impact, I think, quicker for the community. Just over the past few months, it has been one of the things that's been really clear is just how close-knit the Sheridan Green neighborhood is and the community is there. And it definitely representative of just so many of our neighborhoods. We have this tapestry of neighborhoods that is, there's such a pride and a closeness and I think a celebration of community in each one of our neighborhoods. And so I look forward to seeing the Sheridan Green neighborhood really find a way to coalesce around this park and whatever it becomes, in the same way that the school was able to build community. And I'm kind of hoping actually that with the outreach that we're doing, and whether it was with, how we started with Squires or how we what we did in the Irving Street Park, these are opportunities for us to create and help build capacity within our neighborhoods, and to not leave them like, let's go in and then have this conversation and then leave. How do we create and help train our neighborhoods to have strong connections and neighborhood organizations that live on and allow for something to coalesce over time, just like that school did. So I'm kind of, whatever we do, can we, get the seeds placed for that, and both physically and through what we do. So thanks.
Councilor Azadi?
I remember my question. Sheridan Green, the naming of the park, that's part of the design phase, right?
So right now, Parks and Rec has been looking at the policy regarding park renaming, and the ProSlab, our Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Libraries Advisory Board, had recommended that we pause renaming parks until that policy is complete. I can guarantee you that that policy will be completed and brought before you very soon.
Okay, and the design, so there will be a design committee?
So the way that we work is there's a team on staff, our planning and design team, that leads the effort. We will be selecting a design firm to provide consulting services, and then we'll be doing a lot of outreach to the community groups, as Councilor Numella suggested, really planting that seed of getting their input and ideas into the design. We reflect back that design. What we hear, we reflect it back through drawings and plans and photographs, and then we ask the community to weigh in on what are their preferences. And you've all seen the little dots on those plans. We take them very seriously because that graphically shows what where the community is leaning in terms of their desires for that particular landscape. And then we will be bringing it back to this body for your review and direction as well.
So I thought that at some point someone had said that there was going to be a design committee where members of the community can be part of. So an actual committee that's composed of community members and consultants, but like a mix and match.
If I could speak to that, Counselor. Yes, but two different projects. So the water treatment facility project on Westminster Boulevard has a community I think we're calling it a community advisory team that will be part of that design process. We're also doing the same thing with the municipal court. Again, businesses and residents that live in the area for the construction of that municipal court. We have council representation on each of those community action teams, and we could certainly entertain that that system, used here for as we develop this park, given the proximity and the nature of that park in relation to Sheridan Green. So that'd be too easy. But I think what you're remembering are those two other projects. We hadn't talked about that internally.
Yeah, if council agrees, I would definitely be for, because if we're doing that for the court building, I think this project is much more sensitive and much more should be much more community driven in terms of the design with the playground and all. They have very specific needs there, so it would make sense.
I have to say, was it Oakhurst Park we were at last time?
Yeah, that was our latest.
Such a great turnout for that, and you're correct. The dots. I mean, you want the whole community involved, not just a handful of somebody choosing for this whole thing, because you had a surprise in that, and you were told by your dots that you would keep, is it a tractor that's there? The tractor. They probably would have gotten rid of it, but the community said, this tells our story, and we will have this. So the whole and everybody having a voice I've seen is pretty powerful. So.
We also have ProSlab, our Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Libraries Advisory Board that is part of the design process as well. So they also weigh in and are consulted.
I would just like to remind whoever's making the choices of how parks are named, our park in Sheridan Green is named after something in England and means nothing to Sheridan Green. And I will fight hard that this park becomes Sheridan Green, former home of the Little Gators, because that tells who they are. And that neighborhood has lived it. They have paid for it. They have done everything. And they would love that history to move on instead of the name it has there for the one half. People will say, well, isn't that over there? No, it's over on 110th and Harlan. Well, it's in Sheridan Green. Why isn't Sheridan Green? I have answered that question for 45 years. I would love to say it is the home of Sheridan Green. Anything else? Councilor Seymour.
Thank you. Just a couple things. First, on the community engagement, it wasn't just at Oakhurst Park, but seeing firsthand the turnout at Oakhurst Park, the phenomenal turnout at Squires Park, the turnout of the community at Bishop Squares Park, even though it's a smaller pocket park, people were engaged in that. So this new format has worked incredibly well and has been tested. To say that we can get community engagement without spending money and doing mailings and those things, I think is an absolute fallacy, because one of the residents also mentioned that everybody has busy lives, and unless we tell them and make it available on several occasions, we just can't sync up with people's schedule. And so I think the method that costs money, unfortunately, we're not allowed to drop flyers out of planes, and posting things on corners doesn't work. You have to go directly to people and go old school way and mail them things. And so I think that's important too. Also, as far as it's very tough to see a building that it was a community good be torn down. But I would think after the last several years where the city has purchased buildings and seen what has happened over time to those buildings, that we may have learned a lesson. That lesson is, in a case of unless there's a specific immediate use for a building, it deteriorates very quickly, and we already have a public good in itself that is deteriorated, past tense. And so for us to entertain that, for us to do anything. I see the reverter clause as a blessing, because otherwise it would be out to the highest bidder right now, and the school district would have that, which we're going to see at Witt and Zerger and some of the other places in our city. We can't control the declining enrollment of schools, and it's not just Jefferson County. The school board in Adams County, Adams 12, is looking at closing schools as well too. So what we do right now to make an immediate impact, a positive impact with an amazing park that will enhance that community, is a great thing. I never understood until I got on council where we got all these crazy names from our parks, but you know, we had to have this tie to Westminster, UK, and if you go over there, there's not many parks there. So we had to name all of our parks after parts of England too. So I see us transitioning through that and making some sense as we move forward on that, and this one hopefully will be one of those transitional names as well. But I think tonight we make a decision, we move forward, we don't get stuck with a massive albatross around the neighborhood of a deteriorating building, and we come up with something in a reasonable amount of time. Dealing with the state is the caveat there, so that we can deliver on something that's going to be beautiful.
I will officially close the public hearing. Thank you both for all your questions and answers and conversation. Do I have a motion? Councillor Emmons.
Thank you. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 59 on first reading, providing for a supplemental appropriation of funds in the amount of $3,772,000 for the Sheridan Green project to the adopted 2023 budget of the general parks, open space, and trails, and general capital improvement funds.
Councillor Numella.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 59. Is there any further discussion? Mayor Pro Tem.
I haven't shared my reason for my vote. I was waiting for the motion to be on the table, but to me, this is a reminder of some of the fights I've had over my 6 years on council and my frustrations with government, specifically starting with Jefferson County schools. I am disappointed with what they've done with the schools. I live in the Witt neighborhood. That school is being retained by Jefferson County because they did actually put the money where it was supposed to go. Then they closed the school after they made it nice, pretty, and new, to our disappointment. However, it also reminds me that, you know, sometimes we do go full bore in one direction as a government. So to me, this is not only a colossal waste, but I think it's sad, and I think there are other opportunities or options that what looks like $5.7 million could go to do something with that building. You know, over my time, we've had fights over water plants that was supposed to be $300 million. Come to find out, where there was a will, there was a way. It ended up being $200 million. So to me, I'm disappointed that we didn't look at this closer, because I have seen that we as an organization, when there's a will, there's a way. So I will be voting no, just because I just don't think that this is the right path for us. I understand everybody's sound reasoning about why they think that this is the right way, and we certainly have seen areas where there are things that we cannot maintain because of costs. So with that being said, the only other thing that I wanted to put on the record, I do believe it's under council's preview to override that policy. We've done it with a couple other parks, so I'm pretty sure if four of us got together, we could rename that park next meeting if we really wanted to. So if that's the desire of council, I would remind you that we do have that authority. But I will be voting no on this.
Seeing no other discussion, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
No.
No. Thank you. Councillor Emmons?
Yes.
Councillor Azadi?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Councillor Nermella?
Yes.
Councillor Seymour?
Yes.
And Councillor Baker?
No.
The motion passes on a 5-2 vote.
Thank you for the community that came out tonight. That brings us to Councilor's Bill number 60. Councillor Seymour?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 60 on first reading, amending Title 14, Section 14-2-2 of the Westminster Municipal Code related to the Employee 401A Defined Contribution Plan.
Councillor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilor's Bill number 60. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Nermella.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to Councilors Bill number 61. Counselor Emmons.
I move to pass Councilors Bill number 61, amending subsection 4-2-3D1A of the Westminster Municipal Code concerning the rate, imposition, collection, and distribution of parks, open space, and trails, post-sales and use tax pursuant to the November 2nd, 2021 voter-approved changes.
Counselor Seymour.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilors Bill 61. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Nermella.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
And Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
That brings us to Councilors Bill 62. Counselor Seymour.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Move to pass Councilors Bill number 62 on first reading, authorizing the city manager to enter in annual leases of certain water rights to agricultural users for a period of 5 years.
Counselor Emmons.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Councilors Bill number 62. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Baker.
Yes, I'd like to hear how much water we're really leasing and what is the payment for that water?
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. My name is Seth Plass. I'm intern city engineer. So as far as the cost of the water rights that we're leasing, so it's basically the operational costs that the ditch companies would charge per share plus $5. And this is similar to what we've done in these past agreements.
Okay, could you give me a ballpark value of that? And then again, I asked for how many acre feet of water we're leasing.
As far as the ballpark costs, those operational costs, my understanding is it's a couple $100 per share. And as far as acre feet, we typically talk in shares. So it changes per ditch company, but some are about 10 shares, some are 1 or 2 shares, so it's about that amount.
So you can't give me the answers.
I could come back with some specifics.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor McNally.
Oh,
Oh,
I
sorry.
have a comment.
Okay.
I will be voting no on this. I find it ridiculous to pass a bill that we don't know how much water we're leasing or how much money we're getting for it.
Roll call, please.
Mayor McNally.
Yes.
Counselor Nermella.
Yes.
Counselor Seymour.
Yes.
Counselor Baker.
Oh,
Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
Yes.
Counselor Emmons.
Yes.
And Counselor Azadi.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-1 vote.
Counselor Emmons.
Thank you, Mayor. For the point of Mayor Pro Tem bringing a renaming of the park to the next council meeting, I'd like to propose that tonight to have a vote on it next Monday to rename it to Sheridan Green Park.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to bring back to council next Monday, the renaming of the park to Sheridan Green. Thoughts? What?
Yeah, we have to agendize this, so, yeah.
Is there anybody that's not okay with that? Do you need a formal vote to put it on an agenda? Can we even vote? Can we suggest?
since this item isn't on tonight's agenda, I think you could make your preference known, and staff prepares agendas for next week. And I think staff can add a proposed item for your consideration next week. But we obviously want to be able to publish it ahead of the 4th and ensure that we comply with the open meetings law.
So there is a suggestion, and I see no objections, for the city manager to put this on an agenda for next week.
Yes, we can do that, Mayor.
I will adjourn this meeting, and it is 8:20. We will now convene the WIDA Board meeting, incorporating the roll call from the previous meeting. And do I have a motion for minutes of October 9th? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to pass or approve the minutes of the October 9th, 2023 meeting as presented.
Councilor Emmons?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of October 9th, 2023. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to a public hearing, and resolution number 230 for the WIDA Board. And I will open the public hearing. Do we have any staff report?
No staff report, Mayor.
Okay. Is there anybody to testify?
There's nobody signed up to testify.
Okay. Are there any city council questions pertaining to the hearing? Councilor Baker.
Yes, on the original sale of this property, we paid our real estate agent a $50,000 commission. Are we going to be able to recapture that commission?
Good evening, Board Member Baker. The answer to that question is no. That transaction has already been completed, so there will be no recovery of that commission. Yep.
Any other questions? It is 8:21. I will close the public hearing. And is there a motion to adopt resolution 230? Mayor Pro Tem, or I'm sorry, Vice Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to adopt resolution number 230, amending appropriations for the 2023 Westminster Economic Development Authority budget, reallocating $600,000 from the Westminster Economic Development Authority Reserve Capital Improvement Project account to the Westminster Economic Development Authority Westminster Urban Renewal Plan City Participation Capital Improvement account for the repurchase of Lot 4, Block A1 in downtown Westminster.
Director Seymour?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 230. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, are we missing a motion?
I think we skipped over A1.
Okay. I'm sorry, can we go back to A1?
Oh, I just was looking at purple and thought it was my,
Yeah, I
sorry.
was looking behind the closed public hearing.
Okay. Vice Chair, do you want to make that
Sure.
one?
Move to authorize Executive Director to execute the repurchase option for Lot 4, Block A1 in downtown Westminster.
Director Seymour?
Second.
Okay, so then we had all of the public hearing. So now can we vote on that one? Okay.
Okay.
So we're voting on A1.
Board Member Baker.
Yes.
Vice Chair Demott.
Yes.
Board Member Emmons.
Yes.
Board Member Azadi.
Yes.
Chair McNally.
Yes.
Board Member Nurmela.
Yes.
And Board Member Seymour.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Okay, and we have Vice Chair and Director Seymour making a motion and second for Resolution 230. Is there any discussion on 230? Councilor Nurmela?
Oh, oops.
Councilor Baker?
Yeah, I'd like to remind the board that when we sold this property, I was opposed to that sale. And now in hindsight, it seems that we should have never made that sale because we're now $50,000 behind in cash. And we've also really rearranged the lots on that block. And we've really, committed over $1 million to build an alley that now has only potential users. I think this board has been rushed and acted imprudently. And I certainly hope that we do a better job in the future.
Mayor Pro Tem.
A quick question for city manager. The alleyway, was going to happen with or without this development, correct?
That's my understanding, but I don't know the history. So, Mr. Burke, if Mr. Burke could share some insight.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good to see you. Good evening. Yes, the answer to that is yes. If you remember, there actually is a connection already on the south side of the hotel at Westminster Boulevard. This alley then connects to Harlan Street, kind of mid-block between 88th and 89th, to set up for the future sale of both those parcels, north and south. Additionally, part of the cost was to add a water line in, which is necessary for redundancy in that area because the fire hydrants had to be pulled out. And so working with our fire department, we had to allow for additional hydrants in that alleyway as well that weren't there currently.
And then, second question, so oftentimes with these kind of situations, there is some value of things that we get back in the purchase, so like design or is there anything like that that has a dollar amount that we're getting out of repurchasing this that the person who bought it from did as far as like design work or the improvements, so just so the public understands that portion of it?
No, that's a great question. So the developer of this parcel for that adaptive reuse of the US Bank building, formerly US Bank building, has already invested over $340,000 on design. The official development plan was ready to be approved. That actually went right through our planning process here and was at the finish line for that. So yes, the short answer is the expansion of that bank building from 6,000 to about 8,000 square feet. Those plans could absolutely be utilized for that next operator of that building.
And then the last question, because so as a city, it's important that we get a grocer, and so you're still going to go after that use for this particular parcel, I imagine?
Yes, sir. Within literally 30 seconds of notification from the owner, we were already talking to additional grocers in the area.
Thank you. So with that being said, I am 100% supportive of this, and I'm still 100% supportive of the risk that we took. Any sale is a risk. It's unfortunate and disappointing that this wasn't able to happen. I think, that was something we were all very excited about and has been in the works for a really long time. So I understand the point that Councilor Baker is making. I just don't agree. I do think that we are still getting our benefit out of this property, and hopefully we can find a grocer that's going to fit there because it is a very important piece to the downtown.
See no other comments. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Demott.
Yes.
Board Member Emmons.
Yes.
Board Member Azadi.
Yes.
Chair McNally.
Yes.
Board Member Nurmela.
Yes.
Board Member Seymour.
Yes.
And Board Member Baker.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
It is 8:27, and we're adjourned.